This one's long overdue, it has to be said. I watched this way over a year ago, but I'm really trying to find it difficult to keep up. This is The Pawnbroker, and 1964. It was directed by Sidney Lumet. It's written by Morton S. Fine, David Friedkin, and was based on the book The Pawnbroker by Edward Lewis Wallant. Produced by Philip Langner, Roger Lewis, and Ellie Landau. Excellent cinematography by Boris Kaufman, and music absolutely first class by Quincy Jones. So to the cast, and in the lead role is Rod Steiger, and he plays Sol Nasser-Mann. Geraldine Fitzgerald plays Marilyn Birchfield. Brock Peters is Rodriguez. Jamie Sanchez plays Sol's assistant, Jesus Ortiz. Ortiz's girlfriend is played by Thelma Oliver. And Mrs. Ortiz, the mother of the boy, is played by Eusebia Cosme. Marketer Kimbrough plays Tessie, and there are a number of other sort of supporting acts. So I'm going to go through this review now. The Pawnbroker, it's the story of Sol Nasser-Mann, a World War II death camp survivor who has relocated to the United States, and we came as a person who's lost his feeling for mankind. Whilst he was in the death camps, he witnessed the rape of his wife and lost her and his two children to death. He has lived a numb existence for nearly 25 years, and he runs a pawn shop in Spanish Harlem, which he rents from a gangster, an African-American gangster. Nasser-Mann's repulsed by the human race and treats everyone from his customers to his eager assistant with a degree of contempt. The scenes in this movie, because I believe really only by doing that can you, the viewer, perhaps capture a little of the experience of watching this movie and the impact emotionally. We start off with children playing in open fields. It's a family in an idyllic setting in Germany, or maybe Poland, I'm not absolutely sure. A husband, wife and two kids, one of which is Sal, and there are two elderly members there who are clearly family, clearly parents. And Sal, Lumet follows Sal's face, and his expression changes to horror as the Nazi soldiers arrive at the place to take them all away. We then get transported to the New York suburb of Harlem, post-war of course, shortly after their relocation. But a little bit further down the road, Sal has integrated himself, and he has a new family. But we also are aware that this is a particularly significant event. It's sort of the 25th anniversary of what took place in the concentration camp, and the separation that Sal had from his wife and his children, one assumes, and it has understandably a very imposing impact on his psyche. This time, Sal's son is at an age where he's considering travel on his agenda and about to embark on a trip to Europe. And this has an impact on Sal as nightmare memories of Nazi Germany return to him, and they don't sit well with his impending son's departure. Sal's memory recall of the stench of death we see from the flashbacks from the ovens and the gas changes and chambers, and of course the mass graves. Lumet's use of black and white captured the feel of New York City in Harlem as Sal drives through the slums, and we are shown retail stores, and one highlights a second-hand shoe store with pairs of female shoes stacked high, and this again impacts Sal's memory of the camps, and he's reminded of the mounds of belongings that were removed by the German prison guards from the Jewish members and stacked high. A glimpse of his daily work at the pawnbrokers, an array of odd things that folk need to pawn to combat poverty, and there's a mix of emotions and expectations from those who are needing instant cash. Sal, however, is miserly in his offers, and it brings back memories reminiscent of Dickens' obsession in Victorian England. Sal is like the Walking Dead, however, devoid of any emotional response, and customers often seek out an active listener in him to acknowledge their predicament and reflect that with generous amounts wanted for their goods. But Sal remains very much fixed on the need to profit, because he's got to pay off this Negro who's rented the property, and this guy is a sort of a bit of a gangster type, and he's very insistent that he gets his money on time, and this we also witness later when the two get together. We also see his reaction, Sal, to phone calls and visits by the gangster. Sal is much the same, however, as he is with the customers. Because of being starved of humanity, he hardly reacts to this constant attention to get the cash from the African American gangster. One relationship that seems to generate a little bit of interest: a community organizer visits the shop, and she visits on two occasions. The first time she's very shortchanged by Sal, but on the second encounter, her perseverance gets somewhat of a reaction from Sal. She's played excellently by Marilyn Birchfield, but she's also very lonely, like Sal. And later, Sal seeks her out when he's having a particularly bad time with negative thoughts, which start to overwhelm him, and they are able to share the malady of loneliness. There are also incidents with the assistants, Jesus, and Sal offers some spirited activity as a teacher, a guide actually, to how to set up and be successful in business, which Jesus is keen to learn. And a history lesson definitely emerges, and Sal gets some benefits from this, but he then wanders into a tale of how the Jewish people have evolved through history and survived using their guile and business acumen. The monologue also touches on the racist and anti-Semitism that he has experienced through those processes with regard to developing a business guile. The dates spark a huge reaction in Sal, and we witness this 25th anniversary, which symbolises the loss of his family at the concentration camp. A number of flashbacks which litter the plot and connect everyday normal acts which are distorted with the horror of Auschwitz. For example, dogs barking ferociously. The pain visualized when members try to climb the barbed wire in a vain attempts to escape. All these are dramatically recalled by Sal, and rings being removed from camp survivors, and those survivors clinging to the fences, and a young woman comes in to pawn a ring, and this sets Sal off in that area, and it's really why he's become effectively numbed of what's happening in the here and now, because he's constantly going back and retreading the past, and so that's why he doesn't relate or doesn't react. It tends to draw contrast between the people that come in, a glimpse of intimacy between an attractive Negro girl and her boyfriend, Jesus and Sal's assistant, compared with Sal's sterile relationship with a camp survivor. And so we get a good sort of perspective of how relationships can have a similarity and, of course, force those flashbacks. The Quincy Jones score is absolutely superb in capturing urban life in Harlem. And we also move on to a female attachment that Sal has been involved in. It's not a marriage as such, it's just a convenient arrangement. And his girlfriend's father passes, and Sal responds by merely a footnote in their daily activities when she informs him of that. Apparently, in Sal's mind, death holds no special emotion now. It's all been wrung out of him. The shop, of course, caters to those desperate for cash, and Sal is at one point offered sexual services from an attractive black girl to get more money on the bracelets that she's pawned. But this all washes over Sal. His passion has descended out of sight, out of mind, and out of spirit. Her flashing boobs provoke another flashback of rape at the camp, possibly his wife, and a blowjob on offer to him is just like what was offered to the Nazi camp officers by young women to survive another day. And Sal relents and increases his offer on hearing this request because he wants her to get out of the shop. But she, of course, is overjoyed. He doesn't take advantage of the blowjob, however. Gambos visits and uses violence on Sal to try and get his submission with regard to being short on his payments. But it has no impact on Sal. He's an empty shell, and pain, both physical and emotional, hardly hits him now. The boss grasps this eventually, and Sal signs a promise that he'll clear what he owes, but he certainly won't comply with the demands of the thug. And the final visit that we see from this man, a document unsigned is put in front of Sal, but again he avoids complicit behaviour on this. We see him walk through the streets at night, and he then seeks solace from the organiser early one morning, but crucially she can't. He can't let the pain out to her. We see a brief sharing of care between the two of them, but her empathy just falls way short with regard to what is necessary for Sal to show some glimmer of life. and he leaves her apartment after a very short visit and back into the streets, viewing the faces, which he flashbacks to those about to be gassed. So the overcrowded train carriages are also seen heading towards Auschwitz, and these flashbacks are getting more intense, and they encroach on his ability to carry out menial tasks, and this is the message. He's basically going insane, and we then see his functioning drops significantly as he starts to offer extremely high amounts for the goods that are brought into pawn, and the people coming in just can't believe that he's offering what he is, and basically he's given up. We then have the conclusion to the film, but you'll have to go and watch it. This is a heart-wrenching piece of cinema, and Steiger is absolutely brilliant. It's very difficult to really capture the actual intensity in this review, but I would surely suggest that you go and find a copy and sit down and watch it. It's the Pawnbroker, released in 1964, starring Rod Steiger.